Kylie Jenner only announced the launch of her new brand KHY last week, but it's already taken customers by storm with their trendy look and affordable price point. So, before the brand officially launches, I wanted to take a deeper look at the company to see what's going on and if it's really meant as a legitimate fashion offering or if this is simply another celebrity cash grab. In order to do this, I wanted to start by introducing the 4 Ps of marketing, otherwise known as the marketing mix, which I'll be using as a guide for the analysis in this video. The 4 Ps were created in 1960 and soon became one of the most popular ways for businesses to define their marketing objectives, whether with a brand or a product. Since then, in fashion, marketing has become the primary influencer on both the price point and the overarching brand success, with people more willing to pay for the world building around a product than the tangible quality of the product itself. As a result, the marketing mix has become a useful tool for assessing the potential of a fashion business to succeed, hence why I'll be using it in this video to examine KHY. So, the 4 Ps are made up of price, product, promotion, and place. And for KHY, it's probably best to start with promotion, as this is obviously a celebrity brand, and that factors very heavily into it. We all know that celebrity endorsement and celebrity-owned brands have this sense of emulation or desire to be like the celebrity that encourages a consumer to buy. This goes back literally 100 years and is a well-studied phenomenon within retailing. However, the longevity of this influence is often no longer than a gimmick would have, good for a season or two, but past that, the surprise of a new celebrity brand wears thin and the product is more heavily criticized. Fortunately, in recent years, Kylie Jenner has been promoting herself as a connoisseur of fashion, showing up at many fashion shows, including couture shows, where her team has worked well on getting PR specific to that, establishing her culturally as a fashion lover whom one may expect a fashion brand from. And even previous to this, she had the King Kylie era, which though was primarily about makeup because of Kylie Cosmetics, was certainly influential in the style of a generation. This is important because it in a way legitimizes her voice within the sphere of style and has given her over a decade of time to understand her followers and therefore who their primary market is for this next materialization of Kylie merchandise. However, it is noted that buying or wearing clothes and having a stylist choose them on your behalf is certainly very different from having your own point of view in the world of design. This was a major criticism with both the Alexa Chung and the Victoria Beckham brands, who also launched in a similar situation, with both women positioned personally as a celebrity fashion connoisseur well before launching their brands. And because they could both regularly sell out items of clothing they wore from other brands, there was an assumption that customers would want to buy clothes that they personally had designed. However, when the launch of both happened, though they saw a lot of initial buzz, it was difficult for that to transition into continued sales as it became clear that there was a confusion between being a good stylist and being a good designer, with neither brand truly having their own aesthetic. Even Victoria Beckham herself admitted in a recent Business of Fashion interview that having known what she knows now, she would not have started her company. Really, this comes down to the major factor that being a celebrity creates an expectation within the consumer that the brand codes and visual language will already be definable and desirable at launch, which is almost never the case. Nearly every brand, fashion or otherwise, takes a while to figure out exactly what its world looks like, from color palette to shapes and silhouettes, all of which supposedly develop and grow over time. And by having a big splashy launch, which is often bequeathed to a celebrity, it disallows that time for growth. However, it is not mandatory. A great example of a celebrity brand that did not have this big splashy entrance into the market that forced this growth time into their business is The Row, though they actually did this almost accidentally. The Row began in autumn-winter 2007 when the Olsen twins participated in a charity project in which they designed some clothes. This, by nature, was much smaller than a normal launch because it didn't come with a PR team and had the byproduct effect that it helped them avoid the usual pitfall of a celebrity brand wherein one expects the brand codes to be totally fleshed out right from the first collection. They subverted the initial hype and subverted the expectation that their design had to be branded, allowing them time to develop their code slowly, creating a foundation on which the company could have artistic merit when the celebrity factor was removed. Of course, the comparison to the Rose quiet launch really goes against what would usually be suggested by marketers, as why would you not use every tool at your disposal to create a big launch? However, it is that kind of time that even the best designers need to establish the unique qualities of a brand. But it's not like that time has to be as public as the Rose was. Yeezy, for example, who had a very big, splashy, celebrity-like launch for Season 1, allowed a minimum 18 months of planning before the launch, in which he had Virgil Abloh of Off-White, Jerry Lorenzo of Fear of God, and a then unknown Demna Gvasalia of Vetements and Balenciaga, three of the most influential designers of the generation, working on carving these codes out for the brand. This, however, cannot be said of KHY. KHY was only trademarked on the 2nd of March, so they likely applied in January or February only this year, meaning really the brand is only about 8 or 9 months old at best. And honestly, these days the trademark is usually obtained before a celebrity business is conceptualized or in the extreme early stages, which means their dedicated design team would have only had the space of a normal season in which to not only design the collection, but establish the codes of the house and come up with unique visual language. It's simply not long enough, even without the heavy PR surrounding this launch and creating that expectation. And the imagery that we've been served isn't particularly novel or unique. If it came with a different logo, these images could be one of many brands. So unfortunately, that aspect of it is setting themselves up for failure, leaving my opinion needle to think this is more of a cash grab than an attempt at a long-standing brand. However, oftentimes with celebrity brands, that can be saved by the product. Celebrity fashion brands obviously don't have the best reputation for having good quality products. Of course, there are brands like the Row on the higher end that do, but on the more affordable end, they tend to be of lower quality with a higher price point only because of the celebrity name that is attached. We see this even in other Kylie products like Kylie Cosmetics and Kylie Swim, in which consumers bought the product that they had been excited to try, only to be unimpressed with the poor product quality. However, a good quality product, even for a non-celebrity brand, isn't always the best way to find longevity. For any company, their best bet at success is to fill a gap in the market. A brand that has done a phenomenally good job at this is Skims, who have been able to find longevity despite having this kind of a big buzzy launch because they genuinely filled a gap in the market after the former Spanx failed to transition younger consumers to their company. Also, going back to the Row and Victoria Beckham, they also filled a gap in minimal style after Phoebe Philo departed the industry very shortly before their debut. Of course, both of these brands have a product quality that is reflective of their price point, but because they truly filled a gap, the success really wasn't about the celebrity at all, and that was just added value that most ordinary brands can't compete with. However, it seems KHY is going a slightly different route with this. They are filling a gap, but theirs is more along the lines of bringing a designer aesthetic down to an affordable price point. Think Yeezy Gap, JW Anderson, Uniqlo, or even the many H&M collabs. It's just this time, it's not done in collaboration with a high street brand. They themselves are the affordable high street label. And what's even more interesting is their vocalness about their designer affiliation in their promotion because of their partnership with a brand named Namelia. Namelia is a very small Belgian design company that really rose to prominence due to this collection that was based around the hypocrisy of luxury, materializing that idea with several garments based off of the world's most expensive handbag, the Birkin. It's certainly interesting that a celebrity brand, which is itself a gimmick, has partnered with another brand that has been raised to prevalence from a gimmick. In a way, it's a great partnership. Namelia getting priceless celebrity endorsement, and KHY effectively buying design integrity and then democratizing that for the masses. This is particularly important considering they have actually announced that the brand will be based on items in Kylie's current wardrobe. So, it's clear that the pieces individually won't be particularly novel and so need that design integrity to help them find value over competitors. This unfortunately mirrors what happened at Fenty, who also had a dedicated design team, also drew heavily on looks from Rihanna's personal wardrobe, and even employed famous smaller designers like Amina Muaddi. So because it is so similar, the concern is that they will repeat the same mistakes, namely, failing to come up with anything really desirable for the consumer, failing to avoid the criticism that the products didn't have their own design aesthetic, and failing to avoid criticisms of copycatting work from other brands. This is actually something KHY have already seen criticisms of, with a brand named Betsy Johnson coming out to say that they had sent KHY their concept, language and design sheets, which they are claiming that KHY stole. However, unlike Fenty, because of the Namelia partnership aspect being very forward in their press releases, they have a promise of better design quality that almost shields them from this criticism, as why would they champion one brand while stealing from another, especially when both of these brands have quite a similar aesthetic. However, the perceived quality and the received quality are totally separate, and thus the quality of the design is in no way reflective of the tangible product quality, which for any celebrity brand is often the biggest criticism. Unfortunately for this and for future brands, there has been a long string of celebrity fashion brands like Savage x Fenty with subpar quality, and that's tainted the skepticism of consumers going in, which in KHY's case has left the brand even pre-launch to have criticisms of both the necessity of the brand at all and also their sustainability level, with commenters referencing the use of plastics such as polyester and faux leather. This was something Chaos Winter commented on, noting how the use of plastics is so ubiquitous in fashion that it's almost unfair to criticize this brand for it over the others. And she is right, most brands use plastics in their products, whether luxury like Louis Vuitton's plastic monogram bags, small brands who claim to be environment focused and yet still use plastic, albeit recycled plastic, like Botta, or shops on the high street who use it to enable a significantly lower price point and therefore wider margins. It is unfortunately an inescapable part of fashion unless the consumer individually actively chooses to avoid it, going for brands like Jacquemus or Garni, who both often use unblended natural fibers, though there are certainly more dedicated, better companies doing this. However, on top of the ethics of the use of plastics in fashion that would bequeath a normal startup company, the argument for KHY also comes from Kylie's celebrity status. We know she is personally obscenely rich, a billionaire, and so has the money to create a genuinely sustainable brand if she wants to. But even Kylie herself in previous projects, as with this, regularly has opted not to do so, thus leaving a bad taste in the consumer's mouth for the upcoming launch, causing the brand to limit comments under their posts even before the brand debuted. This in turn again unfortunately points at the brand is a cash grab because it evidences a lack of planning for longevity. However, there is one saving factor in this, and that's the price point, and specifically the price point in direct relation to the visual language. The imagery we have so far is not particularly unique. To me, it looks like a cross between Peter Doe's minimalism, Balenciaga's leather and oversized clothes, COS's affordability, and I've even seen online people comparing it to Rick Owens, which actually, despite not being truly unique, does offer a value to customers. Is the product unique? No. Is the celebrity factor unique? No. Is the visual language unique? No. But the combination of these three things is, especially at the affordable price point promised. You see, there are countless brands doing this semi-grungy minimalism at a higher price point, as we discussed in my Phoebe Philo video, which is on Patreon, but on the affordable side, there are noticeably less. It's still not unique imagery or design, don't get me wrong, but in terms of direct competitors, there are less. So by positioning themselves somewhere around here, plus adding value with the celebrity factor, they stand to be a more worthwhile buy for the customer, which actually may lead to longevity. You see, unlike luxury brands or even like Namelia, who, because of economies of scale, also have a higher price point, KHY is planning to be a mid-priced brand. This too was announced exceptionally early in the brand's public announcement, with the third post on their Instagram saying what I assume to be a slogan, quality at an accessible price, and the fourth and sixth post even getting prices, $198 for the faux leather trench coat and $98 for a faux leather strapless mini dress, evidencing that the price point is going to be very front and forward in the marketing of this brand. It's very important to the ethos of the company. The mid-price point offers somewhat a buffer to the expectation of quality as well. In fact, the price point directly factors into public expectation in the sense that because this is a celebrity brand, the celebrity factor has added value to the product while not increasing the cost. Thus, the consumer is getting more perceived worth from whatever they buy from this brand. Plus, because it isn't wildly inflated prices and the consumer won't be expecting the world, there is more of a chance of the brand surviving past that initial phase if the product is still worth it without the Kylie name. We see this in Skims, in fact, where the product has value even without Kim. Furthermore, the consumer won't necessarily expect a perfectly recyclable garment from mid-price brands, and so by not going for the luxury price point, they have an scapegoat for all of these things. They have something to blame the quality on. This then brings us on to place, the final P, wherein it usually means the place of purchase and logistics. However, also includes the way that customers engage with the brand and its products, which of course for the Kardashian Jenners means social media. It's where they're best known and where they're best engaged with as a family, and obviously that extends to their brands as well. As a result, the internet has been agush with commenters both in support and against the launch of the brand for the ethical factors we discussed previously, namely the necessity of yet another celebrity brand, price point, and the environmental impact, which in turn has led countless influencers to discuss the brand, and because of its current backlash, has led those that have voiced support, like my friend Chaos Winter, who's an influencer on Instagram, to have to clarify why they are positive about the launch, almost as a way to defend their opinions. This obviously is a net positive for the Kai brand, as it is effectively free PR, but that also does feed into that expectation, that pedestal on which they can disappoint that we discussed earlier. So it's a two-sided sword. However, I would wager that they're already taking logistical measures to avoid this. This is a speculation, but I expect they will purposefully limit the available quality of product at launch to drive consumer desirability and make us perceive it as more desirable, regardless of the quality of the product. The reason I'm anticipating this is because it's exactly what they used to launch Kylie Cosmetics, where they drastically limited the amount of product available only to 5,000 lip kits per color to force a perceived desirability, promoting it further as sold out in X amount of minutes. It's a known tactic in the business, so it simply makes sense to reuse that method that worked so well for them before. And because their main outlet is their online store, they're very likely to have more control of their own stock to allow for this kind of tactic. So in a nutshell, with the 4 Ps, it really does look like a cash grab, unfortunately. The focus on items from Kylie's wardrobe instead of having their own brandable aesthetic, the accessible price point driving quantity of sales, the fabrication of garments having a wide margin, the accessibility of the brand being quite limited, and of course the heavy initial promotion of the brand causing an expectation that they know that they will be likely to fall from. It's really unlikely that the brand will have longevity without Kylie personally bankrolling it after the first couple of years. However, there are quite a few pros that do make it seem as if there is potential. The democratizing of a popular luxury aesthetic, attempting to minimize expectations of quality, and the partnering with smaller brands to avoid copyright criticisms and to give it a design credibility. But unfortunately, as a whole, it does seem to look like the brand is not expected to last more than a few years, but they are obviously prepared to capitalize further if it does. Almost like they're expecting the worst and hoping for the best. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this one. Check out Underskin for videos like this, but about beauty brands. And thank you especially to all my Patreons over on Patreon, some of whose names are on the screen now.